it's Drybear. We're continuing our series of covering all of the Resonators in Wuthering Waves, and today we're going to talk about the character I have the most love-hate relationship with, Danjin. Danjin is a Havoc-typed main DPS Resonator, and she is actually a berserker, which means that she consumes her own HP in order to do more damage. She is a 4-star, but does respectable damage because of the risk and challenge that comes with playing her properly. Now, since my last video trying to always improve, I decided to make a quick one-sheet for Danjin for anyone who's curious on best weapons, what her sequence unlocks are as you get duplicates of her best echoes, the stats on those echoes, and the set bonuses that you're looking for, plus a loose reference for her overall combo that you'll look for. And we'll go through the gameplay and all that, but if you're looking for just an overall one sheet for the character, how to use her and how she comes into the game, then this all the information is here, and I'll leave that down below in the comments and in the description for your reference as well. But let's move on to our basic kit. We'll go through all of her abilities and functions and synergies so that you know how she functions, and luckily, since we just got done with Calcharo, don't worry, she's nowhere near as complicated as Calcharo is. Calcharo is probably the most mechanically heavy Resonator in the entire game, so now that that's behind us, it should all be downhill in complexity from here, but she does have some really cool things that you want to know about her kit overall. The main one is going to be the fact that when she uses her resonance ability, her E ability, it does consume her HP when she does it. So as I attack here, if you look down at my HP, as I attack, you'll see that my HP does go down. It's constantly being consumed. Every time I swing using my resonance ability, my E, it'll be lowering my HP until it gets to 1%, and then it'll stop going down. So if you're playing Danjin to optimal damage output, you will almost always be at 1% HP. So right now it's 53 for me on this character, on this account that I have here. So there's an obvious risk that if you take any amount of damage on Danjin when you're playing her, you could accidentally die. And I do recommend having lots of resurrects on hand when you're playing her, and that's why I have a love-hate relationship with her, because sometimes when you're fighting some bosses like Dreamless, for example, or even like the Mech Abomination, they have these attacks where they're about to wind up for a big hit, and right before they do it, they'll do like a little baby stomp, like plant their foot and then swing, and that little baby stomp that does like 100 damage kills you because you're sitting at 1% HP. So be very careful with her, and I do recommend running probably not up for negotiation, either a Verena to keep her alive or a Baizhu to keep her alive. You want constant healing on her so that if you get a situation where the enemy is going into a long string, you can switch off Danjin when she's at 1% HP, do some healing, and then get back on her for maximum damage output. Now, once you have half meter, which is 60 charges, or full meter, which is 120 charges, you can then consume that by doing a heavy attack, holding your primary attack, and she will do a chaos cleave, and this is basically her best damage output is this attack here. So when you have a meter over half, she'll do this attack where she goes into her Virgil Judgment Cut Explosion. It will consume meter and it will heal you based on how much you have. If you have full meter when you do this attack, you'll be able to finish it up with a charge attack that does count as heavy damage as well. So most of her damage profile comes from heavy damage, which is why running her with Mortefi is great, because his outro synergy grants the next character bonus heavy attack damage, and you want to kind of move over into her when you have full meter, and then you can dump your big chaos cleave, do a big damage output there, heal yourself up, and do lots of really cool things. However, what's great about the fact that the resonance ability that you do with this here that consumes your HP, you can see in the bottom right, it doesn't actually have a cooldown. You can press this as much as you want, and actually it kind of mirrors your basic attack. Her, unlike some of the characters in the game, she has a 3-stage basic attack, which looks like this: 1, 2, and 3. So she has this 3-stage attack that she will do in sequence, and then when it ends, it starts back over again. You do 1, 2, 3, and the same thing goes for her resonance ability, her E, right? 1, and it follows her basic attack. So based on how many attacks you've done prior to pressing your E, that's how many sequences you'll have. So if you do 1 basic attack into your E, it's only 1 hit. If you do 2 basic attacks into your E, it's 2 hits. If you do 3 basic attacks into your E, it's 3 hits. So based on how far along into your basic attack chain you are, that's how many attacks you'll have from her E, her resonance ability, which is part of her gameplay. So you might only be able to do 1 into 1, or you might be able to do 1, 2 into 2. And even on top of that, you can follow up a dodge counter. So if you're about to be hit and you dodge and you get the dodge counter and then attack back and then immediately go into your E, that's a special attack as well. It's a separate hit there. But every time you use your E, you'll build up your meter, and then you can spend it with a Chaos Cleave, which looks like that. And then if you have full meter when you do it, you can do that follow-up swing attack for heavy damage. And that's the basis of her. You're basically wanting to, if at all possible, your highest DPS is going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. However, you're not always going to be able to do that. Sometimes if the boss is moving or dashing, you might have to do 1, 2, follow up with this hit here, which has a little bit of a knockback and some stagger to it, which is nice. So you might have to switch up into that and then dodge, or maybe you can do a dodge counter hit into an E, and you have those kind of rotations there, but you're basically constantly just weaving between using basic attacks and using her resonance ability as two separate hit chains that you use back and forth, and then building up your meter. And when your meter's full, you can do your judgment cut attack for tons and tons of damage. But like I said, as you build up your meter and you get lower and lower on HP, you get down to 1%, and then the boss does like a crazy hit chain, you might have to swap to a healer, right? And then do some healing in order to get your HP back up so that you can get back on her. Then you have the synergies with Mortifi. You'll be able to kind of use him for that extra heavy attack bonus, switching back into her. Now for her ultimate, super straightforward. It is very easy to remember. It's just a big constant spam attack into heavy hits over and over. So anytime you want to use it, it's just a free damage source on this. And it does actually, unlike some attacks, so this is the follow-up, by the way, if you do the dodge into the E, it's super nice. It does have a time slow on it, which is super nice. Not all Liberations ultimates have this as part of their attacks. Come on, jump. Do it. Do it. But you can actually slow time a little bit. So when you pop it, she'll do this, and then you'll slow the enemy, and you can do this crazy combo attack, which is super nice. So you'll be able to kind of follow that up here. But the big thing is you want to be using your E as much as possible, consuming up your HP, filling that meter, and then spending it. So a basic combo that I would use for Danjin, super easy to pick up, super easy to use, is fill up your meter all the way full. This is like my basic hard boss rotation. And then I'll switch to your support, either Baija or Verena if you have her. Heal up, then you want to switch to your synergy, get your outro concerto set up so you have that going. And I recommend Mortifi for this, but now we have outro. We're going to pop his ultimate, which gives us the coordinated attack. Switch to Danjin. We're going to pop it once, and then we're just going to go into our synergy. Then we do our heavy attack into the follow-up attack, and then we can start going our combos. And if our ultimate's ready, we can pop the ultimate as well. So all of that coming together is going to give you a really nice setup for that kind of bonus damage. And what's great about her is she can stay on the field as long as you want. She has a very smooth buildup. She can constantly just be doing basic attacks into her resonance. When you fill meter, you spend with heavy, do your judgment cut, be like Virgil with the storm that is approaching, and then you can just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you just keep cycling through it. And she's actually very stable from that standpoint. A quick note on her basic attacks, there's one animation that you really want to pay attention to, and it's this one here. At the end of her basics, you see how she stutters and puts her foot back like that? That's an animation you want to avoid at all costs, because that has a very long recovery. The only thing you can do off of that is basic attack, but you basically almost always want to interrupt that with a resonance at all times. So as soon as you get that last stagger hit, and remember, sometimes when you come into intro, or if you do the dodge counter into a hit, you might come into a later stage of the basic attack than you're wondering. So you're constantly having to keep track of your basic attack sequencing so you know which one you're on. So you're always doing that follow-up there, and you just kind of keep going through that, but just make sure you don't have idle time. For weapons, most of these top 3 purples are going to be equivalent. I'm currently using the Lunar Cutter. You can also use the Lumen Gloss or the Commando if you get it. Those are pretty easy. You can also craft sword number 18 if you want, and Sword of Night is fine, but since Sword 18 is craftable, you probably just want to make that and use it if you don't have any of these. And if you can get the 5-star weapon, you want to pick that up as well. But that's an easy pickup for her. Use these here. For Echoes, you won't get Dreamless until you finish Act 6 of the main story, but Dreamless, she is much better than Crownless. She's way faster in implementation. She finishes her damage and gets off. Crownless is much longer, it has a long animation. And you can also swap to Mech Abomination as well when you pick that up. And when you're dropping an Echo, you want to look at getting crit damage or crit rate if it's a 4 cost and you're already at a high databank level. If you're like databank 8 or 9 or 10 and you haven't gotten there yet, then you just want to look for attack and attack percent. If you get havoc damage or heavy damage, that could be fine too. But if you're doing like a 1, 2, or 3 cost on one of these, you can look for just basic damage. But when you get to the really good high level Echoes, that's when you start wanting to pick up crit damage and crit rate, because she scales really well with it. The live set bonus, the Sonata you're looking for is Sun Sinking Eclipses. You can also run the attack bonus, the Lingering Tunes, which is okay. But personally, I would recommend the Sun Sinking Eclipse. It works perfect for her, and luckily she's one of the few resonators in the game that the main echo ability that she wants to use also happens to naturally come with the set bonus that she wants. Some of the characters, they have to farm the random echoes to get a different set bonus on that echo that doesn't normally naturally exist. So it's kind of more of a grind, but luckily for her, her main echo is a Havoc echo that happens to come factory equipped with Sun Sinking Eclipse, which gives you Havoc damage, and upon using basic attack or heavy attack, Havoc damage increases, which is nice because some of the set bonuses you have to do a heavy attack only or a resonance ability. For her, she just basic attacks and goes into her ultimate for damage, or she can do a heavy attack, which you usually won't do for her until you're fill up on meters. So basic attack fills that in nicely, basic attack, then go into your combo and then finish that out, and you can switch off of her. But that's kind of the easy pickup there. Like I said, Dreamless is much better than Crownless in many ways. You can get Crownless at the very beginning of the game, which is nice, but Dreamless is super fast. She does her damage, she gets off field, and you can swap if you want. For teams, I would run Baija or Verena. I don't think that's negotiable. I think you need to have some way to heal her to keep her on the field and keep her healthy. And then for synergy, I would recommend running Mortifi if you have him. He gives the 30% heavy damage percent to her when she swaps over. But if you really have to, there isn't really a crazy bonus for her. You can run maybe like a Genshin for ultimate damage, liberation damage, which is pretty good for her. But other than that, like, your best bet is really going to be him. You could also maybe run Sanhua for basic attack bonus because she does do decent basic attack damage. Or if you have to, you can run Taochi for the resonance skill damage, because her skill damage and her basic attack damage are decent. Her highest is going to be her heavy attack damage when she does the Chaos Cleave, the big Judgment Cut from Virgil, and then there's some percentage there for the actual basic attacks that follow up there, but that would be the best. Mortifi would probably be the strongest, and then equal between those would probably be like either Genshin, Taochi, or Sanhua for your synergy. But if you can get Mortifi, that's even better. Mortifi S1 is also ideal for that front there as well. And luckily her gameplay doesn't change with any of her sequence levels. Pretty straightforward, but she's super fun, very strong, lots of fun to level and strengthen up. So I hope that covers everything you need for Danjin. If you're looking for more guides, let me know in the comments. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.